Today, I'm doing something slightly different that I wouldn't normally do on this channel because today we're looking at spiced rum. But don't disappear for all you proper rum fans because this is all part of this St Lucian deep dive. We've got proper spiced rums made with proper rum. Today I'm putting the Bounty Spiced Rum head to head with possibly the biggest proper spiced rum in the UK, Chairman's Reserve Spiced. Hey rum friends, welcome back. Here on my blue channel, we mainly focus on rum tastings. Each month we do a different island, a different country, and I start off with the cheapest rums and I work my way up to the most expensive rums. When I say most expensive, my sort of limit, my cap is like 50 UK GP pounds, $60, 60 euros, that kind of thing. I never want to get into the proper expensive stuff. So that's the theme of this channel, but don't forget, I've got 5 other YouTube channels now, all with their own specific niches and themes. So do check those out and that'll be in the description below. So spiced rum, I know I don't talk about it on this channel and I don't have a downer on spiced rum. I flipping love my spiced rum and I get a real bee in my bonnet between the people that hate on spiced rum as well, because in my mind, there are 2 very different types of spiced rum. There's the generic, and this is predominantly UK. I don't think this has gone global yet. The UK, we've got a sweeter tooth. You know, we kind of like random spiced rums. Bamboo, Kraken, Captain Morgan's. They are big sellers here in the UK. But, and I don't really talk about those, but when it comes to proper spiced rums, as in rums where we know how they've been distilled, what the base rum is, and then have been spiced up properly. Yeah, I flipping love some of those. And St Lucia Distillers, SLD with Bounty, with Chairman's Reserve, they're big players in that world. Now I'm just going to talk UK market here for a second, and US, you know, you could probably comprehend this. I say US because US is actually my biggest audience on this channel by a long way. So to kind of bring this right round, in the UK, you know, it is no coincidence that we've got Dead Man's Fingers that I think is steadily making its way over to you guys in the US. But think Captain Morgan's Spice, think Bamboo, think Don Papa, think Kraken, those kind of things. If you take those spiced rums out of the equation, where you don't really know what the base rum is and all that, you know, they are without a shadow of a doubt the biggest sellers. You know, you can't get away from that. They are mass market, they're huge. But the spiced rums, even if I do feature them on my red channel quite a bit, and actually in the British Scratch Rum channel, the green channel, when I do talk about them, I predominantly only talk about proper spiced rums. And that is rums where you know the authenticity and you know what's gone into them. This Chairman's Reserve is possibly, if you take all those out of the equation, if you take Bamboo, if you take Don Papa, if you take all that out of the equation, the mass-produced stuff, Chairman's Reserve is probably the biggest authentic spiced rum on the market. So let's just get the DNA out of the way first for these 2 rums. I'm pretty confident in saying this, but I don't know this for 100%. I'm pretty confident in saying that the Bounty Spiced Rum is just the Bounty Gold, which is, I think, the Bounty White. I think they produce that Bounty Gold rum, charcoal filter it to get the white. That's what I would naturally assume. But then with the Bounty Gold, they infuse it with spices to do this. Now I have got this. This is basically the different spices as well. So they're not even the same spices here. So for the Bounty, we have got vanilla and cinnamon. And let's talk about this very quickly because I've got no knowledge of it at all. But the Bois Brandy, B-O-I-S-B-A-N-D-E, the Bois Brandy, and that's the bark of one of the trees out in St Lucia, and then macerate that in there. The Bois Brandy is in both of these, but they kind of think it's got this aphrodisiac kind of properties to it and all that. So if you get a bit fruity after drinking that, that's why. All right. So basically, the Bounty is vanilla, it's cinnamon, and the bark of the Bois Brandy. It's from as much as I can understand it, it's the Bounty Gold rum with just those spices. So it's a 2-year-old rum in the bottom of this that's been spiced up, left to sort of mellow and mature, and then bottled. Whereas the Chairman's Reserve Spiced is slightly different because this So again, to my knowledge, even though the wording on the website doesn't really hint at this, but to my knowledge, the Chairman's Reserve Spiced is the Chairman's Reserve original rum, which again, it's got that average age of 5 years old. So you know there's younger rums in there, but you also know there's older rums in there as well. So we've got a 2-year-old, out and out 2-year-old rum in here, compared to an average age of 5-year-old rum in here. But again, the spices have been elevated. So while we do have that vanilla, that cinnamon, that bois bandy that I'm getting pretty good at saying now, actually, we also do have local other fruits and spices gone into this. You can think nutmeg, you can think clove. I've got the list here is nutmeg, clove, vanilla, as I've said. So cinnamon, vanilla, standard, nutmeg, clove, allspice, lemon, and orange peels. So if you think back to what I said if hopefully that's been released, as I say, I'm not sure how I'm releasing these videos yet, but what you'll learn about this is the rums, the Chairman's Reserve original rum, not spiced, the original, it's kind of all those different rums, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, whatever they've got in there, all aged separately, blended together, and then set in a barrel for another, or put in a barrel for another 6 months to mature as one rum there. So that's how they make the original. Then what they do to make the spice is they take that and then they add the spices to that, and then it's kind of matured again. And that's my loose understanding of this. So, when you are comparing this to your Captain Morgan's, your Kraken, your Dead Man's Fingers, your Bumboon, your Dum Papa, there is absolutely zero comparison. Both of these are proper out-and-out rums that have simply been spiced. And I should point out, because I've got a bit in my bonnet now, proper spices. The way I single out, your Krakens, your Bumboos, your Captain Morgans, your Dum Papas, all that sort of stuff, is because 9 times out of 10, they are dropper bottles with generic rum. You don't really know where the rums come from. It's just Caribbean rum. Could have come from anywhere, different batches from different times of the years from different places around the world. It can be that, but it's simply dropper bottles. I've seen dropper bottles in action. Believe you me, if you go down the cooking aisle of any supermarket in the UK, probably the US as well, and you get those little bottles of flavourings, think more industrial and think a couple of drops literally does 100 litres. So that's why I'm pro proper spiced rums, and while some of them do taste good, I can't deny that. If I'm bigging up proper spiced rums, it's because they're done properly. Distilled rum done properly from a brand that's been spiced up properly. Anyway, slightly longer rant than intended, but there we go. That's the DNA of why I get a little bit passionate about proper spiced rums. End of. Right, let's talk about the price comparison. Both of these are 40% ABV rums, but this is where in this series we now start to get a little bit of a difference of price in between Bounty and in between Chairman's Reserve. So, and if you, I'm not going to deep dive in that. Go and watch the original, so the Bounty Gold versus Bounty versus Chairman's Reserve original, to get the DNA of St Lucia Distillers, of how they differ, how they can use their stills to create different rums. I'm not going to talk about that here, but price comparison. For the Bounty in the UK, £22.66 from my friends at Master of Malt. And I've bought both of these, so there's no paid promotion, there's no anything going on. I have bought both of these rums. So £22.66 from my friends at Master of Malt compared to £28. So we are talking £5, roughly £5.50. Okay, so just so you know what we pay around the world, just so you can do that. I've talked to my 4 biggest audiences here, but there are some more audiences coming up now. Especially, I saw Sweden actually before Christmas. Sweden was growing. Anyway, US, let's go US. So 28, roughly round up $29 for the Bounty compared to $35.50 for the Chairman's Spiced original, sorry, or Chairman's Reserve Spiced. There we go. Let's talk about that. Euros, 47. That can't be right. I don't know where that came from, but it was basically trying to tell me that euros were a lot more than what the US dollars were, and that whatever weren't going to happen. So euros, 26, just slightly over 26 euros for the Bounty compared to 32 euros for the Chairman's Reserve Spiced. Australian dollars, we're back in the flow now. 42 Australian dollars, for that, 52 Australian dollars for the Chairman's Reserve, and then Canadian dollars 38, rounding down very slightly for the Bounty to 47 for the Chairman's Reserve. So you can understand that there is I don't know why. I don't know why the Bounty Gold, the original rums, and the white rums are so close, and yet the spiced is different. I can only assume that in the UK, because that has been around for God knows how many years, and this is a new product, this has got market share, and they can charge a little bit more for it. I can only assume that, but we'll sum up at the end. They prices. Let's dive into some tasting. So there's a massive difference on the aroma, absolutely colossal difference. A lot lighter, a little bit of spice there for the Bounty. You know, you have got, it does what it says on the tin. I don't know what wild brandy kind of smells or tastes like, you know, bark of that tree. I couldn't say, but this is very much does what it says. You have got rum, you have got cinnamon, you have got vanilla. There's not much else going on there, but it does smell kind of inviting. It's like, it smells, oh yeah, it smells quite delicious, you know. And it just goes to prove that actually, when, you know, certain other brands go down the route of like 20 different spices or whatever, even that, there's got kind of a lot of spice in there. But I'm thinking other commercial brands, if you like, do you know what? Keep it simple. That smells delicious. But you know what? There's a reason why the Chairman's Reserve is like the daddy of spiced rums in the UK. Because every single one of those spices that's been added, you can smell. Vanilla, absolutely no shadow of a doubt. Cinnamon, yeah. Nutmeg, clove, it's all there. Leads onto the fruit afterwards. You get this kind of like sort of sultana-y vibe that's there, like rum and raisin ice cream. But you also get this, you know, citrus base. You get lemon first off, but the orange just kind of finishes off and all that. Every single spice. They might have added more. I don't know what this bar brandy smells like. They're all there. And it's just like, wow, I want some of this. Now, in the taste comparison, this is where I slightly go different on these, because I'm not sure spiced rum market is about neat sipping. I don't think there's many that would buy out of their, you know, let's talk UK here for a second, out of 60, 70% market share. So if you have 100% of rum, 60+% of that, probably up to 70% of that is made up of spiced rum sales. Out of that 70%, I would probably say 5% of you would drink spiced rum neat, just to kind of round that off, if you like. And for that, you know, this is kind of a pointless exercise, because I actually wouldn't drink the Bounty spiced neat. It's like, it's there, it's decent, it's nice, but it's, you know, it is nothing in comparison of the Chairman's Reserve. Everything. And I dare say the Chairman's Reserve might have a little bit of extra sugar added to it. I don't know. I don't know whether it has got sugar added to it. I would assume so, just judging by the taste. But it's just everything. This just cuddles you from inside. All those spices are there. But the thing I love about the Chairman's Reserve is that orange afterwards. You get all those spices up front, and you get that orange that just comes in so beautifully at the end. This is a delicious spiced rum. If you're used to drinking Dead Man's Fingers, Kraken, Bamboo, or, you know, Dum Papa, work up to this, because I promise you there is like light years in between them, in quality, in taste. You know, this lights me up like a Christmas tree. And yes, I would still drink Bamboo. I would still drink Dom Papa. It's not, I wouldn't buy a bottle, but if they were on a menu and I was out and that was the minimal options, yes, I would drink them. You know, I've not got a hate on them. My point is, this is just so much better. Now, when it comes to the mixer test, the only real mixer I'm going to do here is Coke. I've got Coke Zero. And this is where the Bounty does come into its own, because those simple spices in there make a really, really delicious rum, or spiced rum and cola. You know, this is going to have massive, massive fans on there. And if you are, I'm just trying to think to the US audience here now, because I'm assuming that's going to be a lot cheaper in the US. This is just light years above Captain Morgan, Kraken, Bamboo. It is. Even that with 3 spices is just a delicious, because it's not sweet. It's delicious, delicious spiced rum. But there is a but, because there's a reason why this is the OG. It's just those flavour combinations. And again, I think probably for me, it's that orange at the end. This is a weird concept, because I don't inherently do fruitier rums with Coke when it comes to that. But it's just something about the spiced rum. I think for me, when you add like cinnamon and vanilla and nutmeg and clove into the mix with orange, because orange is the one fruit that I kind of think when I taste the rum and Coke, I think, oh, that would benefit from a wedge of orange. You know, it is that thing. And this doesn't need a wedge of orange because it's there. You know, this is just, perhaps it's the pineapple or tropical fruit vibes that I don't necessarily do with Coke and all that sort of stuff. But this is just a class part. It's a classy spiced rum. Now, when it comes to cocktails, spiced rum drinkers often get sort of shortchanged a little bit with cocktails, because the rums that they will drink, you will drink, are a little bit sweeter. And it does, when you go down the tiki route and stuff like that, you know, you will have to balance those cocktails out a little bit. You will have to adjust sugar in some of them, because you are drinking sweeter rums than what the actual rums are in the original cocktail. So when it comes to the Mai Tai, for instance, there's a reason why I love proper spiced rums, because proper spiced rums are not as sweet. They've just simply got an extra dimension. They have got a little bit of sweetness to them, don't get me wrong, but they've just got this extra dimension to them, which does allow them, generically, proper spiced rums I'm talking about, to be a simple swap into a cocktail. And I've just done this with a Mai Tai, and I'll be honest, the Bounty doesn't really, Bounty Spiced is like, yeah, it's all right. I'd much prefer to drink the Chairman's original spiced, the Chairman's original Mai Tai in the previous video. It's decent, it's lovely, it really is good. It does give it an extra dimension. Actually, not as sweet as this, but this Chairman's Reserve spiced as a Mai Tai, oh my god, is bold with flavour. It's bold with spice. It actually, for me, brings a different layer to the Mai Tai. So for what I said in the original Chairman's Reserve original video is that I need to train. I need to get my head away from like wanting that dark rum vibe, something like the Worthy 109 in a Mai Tai, because I do generically love that. It was just a little bit lighter. Bearing in mind, this is pretty much the same rum, just been spiced up that's in here. What those spices do is give me a different layer, which I actually really like. It ceases to become this like a Mai Tai in the sense that you would know it, but it is a very good riff. The only thing I would say is that you do need to dial back a little bit of the sweetness. The Bounty you don't, but the Chairman's Reserve a little bit. So if you're making a traditional Mai Tai, what I would suggest you do is look at where it's equal measurements of the orgeat syrup and demerara sugar or cane sugar, whatever you use. I would dial back the cane sugar, because this is a little bit sweeter. Bearing in mind, I use a Mai Tai mix that I've got prepped up. This is a little bit sweeter than the Bounty, but the spice is kind of there. I just want a touch less sugar. But wow, this is a really good cocktail. So look, to sum up, the Bounty is really good, and it's easily, depending on your price, what you're paying for, is easily a quality step up from, I keep saying them, Bamboo, Captain Morgan, Kraken, Don Papa, you know, those sort of rums. Is easily a step up from that for actually not much more money. But if you can afford to spend an extra $10, $12, $13, $14, whatever you've got there, 12, 13, 14 euros, I urge you, because the extra oomph that the orange brings and the extra additional spices in the Chairman's Reserve spiced, for me, that's why. But I ain't dismissing the Bounty. The Bounty is really, really good. I'd rather have that than Foursquare. I generally would. The Foursquare just lacks a little bit of sweetness for me. It just lacks, you know, that sweetness bringing the spices together. This is minimal sugar in there, but what that minimal sugar does actually bring those spices together. So yeah, 2 quality rums, but if I could only have one, it's the Chairman's Reserve Spiced.